What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Ripon Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
This is My Life DIY, and
hi, this is Jojo.
Hi, my name is Ash.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Ripon Common Sense Radio.
Are ghosts real?
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation, don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret cave, hidden deep within the wilderness. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live from a secret cave hidden deep within the wilderness of Tennessee. That's right. We're ripping through the electromagnetic soup, we're tearing through the atmosphere, and we're tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the DarkWolf's Den Show for Wednesday, November the 10th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we carry on our State of Mystery series as we pull into the great state of Massachusetts. Staying in the New England area once again, we have some incredibly unique and interesting creatures in the cryptid category. And of course, as we know, Massachusetts is the home of both the Lizzie Borden episode, if you know what that is, and as well as the Salem witch trial. So a lot of traumatic history in the state of Massachusetts that you can bet translates into a lot of incredible ghost stories. And we're going to get into all that and more here in just a moment. But first, we've got to go over here and check in with our YouTube chat rooms, both on the DarkWolf's Den Show channel as well as the Rippin' Rabbit Hole YouTube channel. How you guys doing over here tonight? Welcome back, everyone. It looks like we've got a pretty good turnout this evening. Up at the top here, we have Elva Yoder checking in, saying hi. Hi, Elva. Great to have you here. Sandy B saying, hey, see you soon. We're glad to have you here. Sandy Terry Taggart says she's waiting patiently. Well, hopefully she didn't have to wait too very long. Raider Champion says the Duke. That is right. The Duke is the one that does the Pledge of Allegiance here every week. Michael Fontaine says, hey, Michael Fontaine. Juanito, good to see you, my friend. Looks like that's everybody we have over here. Everybody chatting away, having a good old time. Sandy says, hope my life makes it. Poor James wasn't feeling too good. Perked up a little after a bath. Well, let's hope that he gets to feeling a lot better. Hey, Wizardry, glad to see you. Also, that's over in the Rippin' Rabbit Hole YouTube chat. Over in the DarkWolf's Den Show chat, we have JoJo's waving in, saying hello, JoJo's. My apologies to those in the DarkWolf's Den chat. For some reason, the stream did not auto-start over here like it was supposed to, so the Pledge of Allegiance and the National Anthem was missed this time. My sincere apologies, guys, but we got it going now. Deranged Lunatic, good to see you, my friend, over from the Creepy Little Book channel. Michael Fontaine hopping over to the DarkWolf's Den Show says, I'm over here now. Glad to have you, Michael. Says you've been waiting all day for this. Well, I hope it is up to your expectations. He says today is his mom's birthday, though. She turned 70. Happy birthday to Michael Fontaine's mom. That is absolutely awesome. And Dead GPK dropping in there. Glad to see you, my old friend. Haven't seen Dead GPK around in a while. Michael says, do you have anything for Veterans Day tomorrow? Not specifically, but as we are doing the Freedom Flame series, you know, it's definitely going to connect to it one way or the other. And there is the great My Life DIY dropping in at the end, saying Happy Wednesday. Did you guys check out the Common Sense Council show yesterday? That was an incredibly fiery episode. That's what needs to happen around this country. People need to start going to their city council meetings, getting involved, letting these people know that they're not going to get away with this corruption and stuff that they've been pulling for so long. I cannot express that enough. I've been saying it a lot lately in shows. Please get involved. But if you haven't checked out that show yesterday, top hats off to Rippin' resident and fellow Rippin' Rabbit Rob Witchow, who really took the city council to task yesterday. And of course, if you're not in the YouTube chat rooms and happen to be joining us over on the Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network or in one of the many countries worldwide, as we are in 29 countries at this point, we appreciate every last one of you guys being along for the ride. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. And before we do continue the ride into the paranormal state of mystery of Massachusetts, well, of course, we have two more fun little segments to do. The first of which we call Today in History. On this day in 1940, Walt Disney begins serving as an informer for the Los Angeles office of the FBI. His job? To report back information on Hollywood subversives. He was trying to stop the commies in the Hollywood section in the entertainment industry, so that they could not spread communism further into this country. Sometimes I wonder if we need more people like Walt Disney began doing on this day in 1940. And that is today's segment of Today in History. Sometimes it does kind of feel like the commies are rearing their ugly heads around here, didn't it? Anyway, that brings us to our next segment of the day, a segment which we call Say What? Thank you, Stewie. Our quote of the day today, ladies and gentlemen, comes from Lewis Black. He says, and I quote, "I think I've figured out how government works. One party stands up and says, I have a really bad idea. And the other party stands up and says, I can make it even worse." End quote. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't think he is very far off the mark in his analysis of government, right? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is today's segment of Say What? But amazingly enough, the government is not the strangest thing in Massachusetts, actually. The cryptids, however, are vying for first place as being the strangest thing, as we run across a cryptid here in Massachusetts that we have seen in a couple other states. Not a really well-known one we've seen everywhere, but if you followed this show for any amount of time, then you will have heard of the Pukwudgie.
Standing between 2 and 3 feet tall, the Pukwudgie looks much like our modern idea of a troll. His features mirror those of the Native American in the area, but the nose, fingers, and ears are enlarged, and the skin is described as being gray and or washed out, smooth at times, and has been known to glow. So definitely not the cutest of cryptids, right? It's not winning any beauty contests by any means. Your modern day version of the troll, albeit with the washed out skin, that is a little different, but just the same, you've got this troll-like ugly creature, right? And you know, one thing I've said before 100 times, and I'll say it 100 more times, when the Native Americans are reporting something like this, I tend to perk up and listen a little more, as they weren't as closed-minded as some of us seem to be, and when they observed something, they just observed it. They didn't extend the truth or make it up. You know, if they said there was a Bigfoot or a wild man tribe, I'm more likely to believe them than I am anyone else. I don't know about you guys. What makes these monsters dangerous is the multitude of magical abilities they use to torment and manipulate people. They can appear and disappear at will and are said to be able to transform into other animals. They have possession of magical poison arrows that can kill and create fire at will. They seem to often be related to a tall, dark figure, often referred to in modern times as shadow people. In turn, the Pukwudgies control the Tapawenkas, which are believed to be the souls of Native Americans that they have killed. They use these lights to entice new victims in the woods so that they can kidnap them or kill them.
So a creature just as dangerous as it is ugly, with supernatural powers nonetheless. But we've went over Pukwudgies before, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this particular cryptid, and we're going to move on to the next cryptid of Massachusetts. And this one here is definitely one of those quite strange and unique cryptid creatures. Check this out. This is called the Black Flash.
In 1939, in Cape Cod, the children within this area started coming home telling their parents about a very tall figure that was dressed in all black. And this dark figure was somehow able to just magically appear and disappear just as fast. And the children said that this thing had a hideous deformed face with glowing red eyes, and it growled at the children before it disappeared back into the darkness. And of course the kids that came face to face with this entity were terrified, and when they got home they were crying and shaking.
I could only imagine how terrified they were, right? As an adult, if I run into that, I'd be pretty darn terrified myself, I'm not gonna lie. So could you imagine as a child running into a crazy dark entity like that?
Now, since it was close to Halloween, the adults thought that it was just somebody playing a prank, and maybe they were taking it a bit too far, but they really didn't think that it was a big deal.
And of course, kids are pretty easy to spook, and around Halloween time that is something kind of fun to do. Some people do take jokes a little too far. But this may not be as much of a joke as the adults originally thought that it was.
Then one night a woman named Mary was walking home when she saw an extremely tall person that was at least 8 feet tall. And this person, or entity, just came right out from the bushes and slowly moved towards her. Mary stated that this thing had long pointed silver ears and its eyes were glowing. Now Mary was scared to death, and she watched this dark figure leap away at amazing speeds, making Mary believe that this could not have been a human being. And once this thing was gone, Mary ran into a nearby coffee shop and she told everybody what she had just seen. And Mary was in such a state of shock that they believed her, or at least believed that someone was to blame.
So it's one thing to scare a bunch of kids, but something that is creepy and scary enough to scare the adults, this albeit, maybe a timid girl, so this may be the only case file, and that's fair, but we'll see as we go on. But something that creepy that to scare an adult, that's still maybe a prank, but I don't know many humans that can run at lightning speed, if you will.
So the men within the coffee shop went to go see if they can find whoever this was that was responsible for scaring Mary half to death. But they came back empty-handed. And over the next couple of days, a lot more sightings were now coming in from adults within this area. And the description of this creepy dark figure was always the same.
As we know from this show many times, I've pointed out that when you have multiple eyewitnesses giving you the pretty well same account or details within the account that all line up, you have to wonder if perhaps they're not making it up and maybe they really did see whatever they claim they're seeing, right?
The eyewitnesses said that this thing was dressed in all black. Its ears were pointy and silver, and its eyes were red. Or in some cases, its eyes were silver. And these eyewitnesses also said that it produced a very odd buzzing sound, kind of like an insect, and it could leap or jump very high, and it was able to move extremely fast.
I don't know about you guys, but this seems less and less to me like an elaborate prank, and more to me like a known creature, right? A crazy wild one at that. But what do you guys think? Go ahead, put a 1 in the chat room if you still think this is possibly a really elaborate Halloween hoax. Go ahead, put a 2 in the chat room if you think this is a real cryptid creature, and put a 3 in the chat room if you're still pretty well on the fence with this case file of these creatures.
Now the police were getting bombarded by calls from terrified citizens, and this thing was able to move so fast that it would often be seen in different parts of the town, miles away, at almost the exact same time, making people believe that it could teleport, or there were more than one of them, or it was just able to move that fast. Now it seemed that this entity took great pleasure in scaring people, and now the whole town was in a state of mass hysteria, and things were about to get much more violent. A man named Charles said that he actually shot this creature, but it was completely unfazed by the gunshot, and it laughed at Charles before jumping over a very high fence with one single leap.
That's never a good sign when modern weaponry of the time has no effect at all. But let's see what you guys said about the question on the table. Remember, it was if you think this case file is a huge elaborate hoax, the answer is 1. If you think it is a creature or set of creatures, go ahead and put a 2, of course. And if you are unsure whether or not this is a hoax or a real creature, the answer is 3. Let's see what you guys said over there in the chat room. Looks like it's kind of a mixed bag over here with Terry Taggart dropping in the 3. I actually expect nothing less from Terry there. Always on the fence. That's not a bad way to be. Man, Danny Mall with a 1. Definitely a Halloween hoax taken way too far. Sandy B says 3. I'm with Terry this time. Not quite sure. Errol Taylor with the 3. Also on the fence. Juanito with the 2 definitely thinks this is a real creature. Raider Champion with the 2.3 also leaning towards real creature. And I don't know lean there, but a real creature just the same. My Life DIY with the 2, JoJo's with the 2, Did GPK with the 2, and Michael Fontaine rounding it out also with the 2, all agreeing that this is most likely a real creature. By the way, hello to Carol's Cookies, welcome. Man Danny Mall and Errol Taylor, glad to see all of you guys. Maggie's Ace, good to see you dropping in also. And it seems that Charles shooting at it not only didn't seem to faze the creature, it would actually not be the last time it was seen either.
Then not too long after, another man claimed that he was cornered by this entity, and this man tried to punch it. But the thing was able to catch his fist in midair, then it crushed and broke this man's hand before throwing him down on the ground like a rag doll.
So super speed, invincibility, and super strength. This is not a cryptid that I want to run into even in a lit alley, let alone a dark one, right?
Another eyewitness claimed that this entity was able to shoot blue fire out of its mouth. And another one said that he was hit so hard by this monster that he actually flew up in the air, making him believe that whatever this was possessed superhuman strength.
Now, I don't normally do this, but I would actually discount the one that claimed the blue flame out of the mouth because it doesn't line up with any other case files that have that same detail. Not to say that it's wrong, but I would rule that one out first if I was trying to narrow down the aspects of this creature.
Now, this demonic-like creature was getting very famous, and there were now many names for it, such as the Black Phantom, the Phantom Fiend, the Devil of the Dune, and the media called it the Black Flash, making this the most popular name, and from that point on, this entity was now known throughout the United States and the world as the Black Flash, as it was able to move so fast. But many believed that this thing was nothing more than a very talented human prankster. But for the ones that actually came face to face with this thing, they believed that it was the devil himself. And these encounters went on for another 7 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, they do say that the devil walks the earth like a lion. Apparently, he liked Massachusetts as he hung around there quite a bit, it sounds like.
In 1945, the police went to go investigate a schoolyard as there were a series of very recent sightings of this Black Flash. And when the police got there, they saw it, and it was able to jump over a 10-foot tall fence, and it got away. Then a month later, a group of school children were attacked by this creature, and the children said that they ran into a nearby house to seek refuge. And the children and the residents within this home started to hear loud bangs on the wall, and the doors started to mysteriously rattle.
What makes this whole case incredibly creepy, of course, isn't the creature, isn't the fact that it has all these abilities or could be the devil himself. That's not what really scares me about every one of these case files we've heard. There's been a pattern that I've seen. Have you guys caught it? There was children involved to begin with every time. That is a disturbing pattern from the very first part of the case file where it was scaring children and then it was seen by the adults. And every single time it was seen freshly scaring children for whatever that means. So it might not be the devil, but it sounds like the demons are loose in Massachusetts, or were at that time anyway. And there's another thing that is loose in Massachusetts, in the waters of Massachusetts, called the Gloucester Sea Monster.
The hysteria began on August 6th when two women were walking along the shoreline. They looked out towards the horizon and glimpsed an enormous figure swimming in the harbor. But this was no ordinary animal. It was a hideous, scaly, serpentine-like creature, nearly 100 feet in length. They watched it as it slithered under the waves, disappearing from sight.
That sounds a lot like the Loch Ness Monster and the Champy Monster, and different sea creatures that we've come across have this same serpentine type body style. Unless they're all giant eels. That's exactly what they try to claim Nessie is, ladies and gentlemen, is a giant eel. I'm not even kidding. There's a news article come out, I want to say about a year ago now. So we figured out the Loch Ness Monster. It's a giant eel. So aside from ridiculousness like that, this sea creature here follows the same pattern that we've seen over and over again. And luckily for these women, what they seen was actually independently verified by somebody else. The voice you're listening to, by the way, is the folklorist on YouTube. And the first one was the paranormal junkie. I must give credit where credit's due there. But tell us, folklorist, about the independent verification that happened for these women that seen this sea creature.
On that very same day, a seasoned captain noticed something while on the bridge of his ship. It was the same dragon-like figure peeking out from the water, and just as quickly as it appeared, the monster propelled itself down into the abyss. Later that day, when he recounted the sighting to his friends, he claimed it was full of joints and resembled a string of buoys on a net. Naturally, they ridiculed the man with hoots and wails of laughter, mocking his unbelievable story.
So this would be verification for both the sailor and the two ladies that what they seen was absolutely real. But this would not be the last time that this creature would be seen. Nowhere near it.
This wasn't the first sighting of a sea serpent in Gloucester. In 1638, a ship passing through the harbor noticed something that laid coiled up like a cable upon the rock at Cape Ann. One settler aboard the boat was about to shoot at it, but was dissuaded by two Indians who said that if he didn't kill it outright, they would all be in danger of their lives.
And once again, yet we find that the Native Americans already knew about this creature and knew to respect its territory and land, as if you didn't kill it the first time, it would kill you. This is most likely from experience that they would know this.
But unlike 1638, these sightings would occur more frequently. Just a few days later, Mrs. Story saw what appeared to be a tree trunk that washed up onto the rocks of a harbor island. What she saw was no tree trunk. Its dark body suddenly started to convulse, startling poor Mrs. Story. But when she regained her composure and gazed out again, the creature was gone. Even her husband claimed to have seen the beast a few days later. The creature moved very rapidly through the water, I should say a mile or two in 3 minutes.
So all of these witnesses seem to be from completely different walks of life. People that probably wouldn't even normally converse with each other on a social level, more so than a nod at the grocery store, right?
And more evidence surfaced when another resident, William Rowe, reported seeing a figure in the water that same day, claiming its head was as broad as a horse. Within the same week, on August 12th, a visibly shaken shipmaster, Solomon Allen, told some friends that he saw
something like the head of a rattlesnake, but nearly as large as the head of a horse. When he moved on the surface of the water, his motion was slow at times, playing in circles, and sometimes moving straight forward.
And once again, this sea captain, who had no idea most likely of the claim previously made by the townsfolk, about the creature, or specifically the size of the head of the creature, gave pretty well the exact same description days after the person described the creature having the head the size of a horse. The sea captain comes in and says he's seen something with the head the size of a horse. So once again, this independent verification of this creature is interesting.
Some residents were beginning to get hostile towards this invasive sea demon. On August 14th, a ship carpenter named Matthew Gaffney caught sight of it from a boat and shot at it. He turned towards us immediately after I had fired, and I thought he was coming at us, but he sunk down and went directly under our boat. Residents were now at a point of hysteria as sea serpent fever swept across the town. Countless people made their way to the shoreline, hoping to catch a glimpse of the prehistoric monster. Even David Humphreys, a former aide to George Washington, visited Gloucester to interview witnesses who informed him that the serpent's features were much like the head of a turtle and larger than any head on any dog, with a 12-inch spear bulging from its skull. During that month of August, similar reports seemed to emerge daily from sailors, merchants, clergymen, people from all walks of life. Regardless of the accounts, the same question continued to arise. What was this beast lurking in the harbor? Was it a misidentification of some type of marine mammal? Or could it have been a dinosaur that survived extinction? Or was it simply a tale that had become more incredible with each retelling? Word had spread quickly, with the reports catching the attention of the Natural History Collective, the Linnean Society of New England. And after a brief investigation, the society published a pamphlet declaring that it was an entirely new genus known as Scoliophis atlanticus. They claimed that it was a breakthrough in the field of natural history, and there were even some reputable sources who came out in support of their alleged discovery. But newspapers viewed it as a sensationalized hoax meant to promote the city of Gloucester, and playwrights would ridicule the city with plays like Gloucester Hoax, a dramatic jeu d'esprit in 3 acts. By the end of the year, there had been 18 documented sightings of the creature. And while sea serpent fever has died down since 1817, there have been reports of denizens of the deep that have occasionally surfaced off the coast of New England.
What I always find intriguing about these sea monster case files, especially ones in the ocean, is the idea that, you know, years ago, sailors would report they were seeing these monstrous creatures, and science said, oh no, those are just tales and myths of crazy sailors. However, we started finding creatures like the giant squid and different creatures in the oceans that for a long time scientists thought could not exist. So many times science has got it wrong, whether it be sea creatures or the gorilla that was a cryptid until 1902, or a number of other creatures. So you must definitely keep an open mind when you get reports of sea monsters or the such. But ladies and gentlemen, that music means we have to go ahead and take a network break right here. So my name's Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you're listening to the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show exclusively on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. We'll be right back with the second half of the Darkwolf's Den Show after these messages. Don't you touch that dial. That's right.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah, your weekend is well underway with Jerry Hicks and the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show. Hi everyone, it's AJ. If you're enjoying tonight's State of Mystery for Massachusetts and you haven't done so already, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. We're here every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, bringing you the very best of common sense radio, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. Jerry Hicks and the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show will return again tomorrow night, November 11th. Starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as the Freedom Flame series continues. Jerry will be focused on the Bill of Rights. I'm looking forward to that again tomorrow night, Thursday, November 11th. Then I'll return to take you through the rabbit holes of the weekend Friday night with a look at transparency. Hopefully things won't be opaque and we can see right through things, you know what I mean? That's going to be Friday, November 12th. Starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as all shows do here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio. Then Saturday night, press on with me just a little further in our Perseverance episode. We're going to look at how to not ever give up. We don't ever want to do that, because if we don't give up, we get to reap the rewards that comes with it. So come along with me as we dive through that rabbit hole. Saturday, November 13th, again, 7 p.m. Then we will end out the weekend right, Sunday night, November 14th, with a look at preserving history. Unfortunately, in today's day and age of cancel culture, sometimes people want to destroy rather than preserve history. So we're going to explore all the reasons and the importance of historic preservation at every level. And that is going to end out the week together right with you. I'm looking forward to the rest of the weekend ahead. If you haven't done so already, please hop on over to our website, rippinrabbithole.com. There you can sign up for your exclusive backstage VIP pass. It's going to give you unfiltered access down the rabbit hole to where the conversation continues after the show. In addition, you will go under Listen Live and On Demand, and you will see the complete archive of all of the shows we've done here, including your ability to search through them by keywords and title. It's a very advanced search over there. So pay us a visit at rippinrabbithole.com. We'll return to tonight's State of Mystery for the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show with your host, Jerry Hicks. You're listening to the Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole.
This is My Life DIY, and
Hi, this is JoJo.
Hi, my name is Oz.
Hey everybody, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light.
And you're now listening
to DarkWolf's Den.
The DarkWolf's Den Show on Rippin' Common Sense Radio.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the DarkWolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show for Wednesday, November the 10th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. If you're just joining us this evening, folks, we have been discussing the state of mystery of Massachusetts. That's right. We've gone over a number of cryptids in the first half, some of which we've heard on the show before, some not so much. So if you missed the first half, do make sure you go back and check that out after the end of the show, preferably, of course, right? But ladies and gentlemen, there's not a whole lot of good audio bites and stories I could find for UFOs in the state of Massachusetts, so we are going to jump on over into these ghost stories. And there's actually some really interesting history in Massachusetts, ladies and gentlemen. For those that don't know, it is the home of the Salem witch trials, of course, but also the home of Lizzie Borden. So you've got two crazy, extremely traumatic historical events that occurred in the state. And those are just the two ones that everybody knows about. So you can imagine the amount of haunting going on in the state of Massachusetts.
The Burying Point. The Burying Point, also known as Charter Street Cemetery, has been used for burials since 1637, making it the oldest graveyard in Salem.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We are starting with the Salem, Massachusetts, of course, the home of the Salem witch trials.
Among its faded and decayed headstones, many a historical figure is buried here, including John Hawthorne, ancestor to Nathaniel Hawthorne, who was judge to the Salem witch trials. His ghostly apparition has been known to show up from time to time, donning clothing from the era. Also buried here is Richard Moore, a passenger on the original Mayflower voyage.
So truly one of the first Europeans to set their foot on the American continent.
His ghost has been seen stalking the rows of headstones, especially at night, and is known to disappear if any try to get close. Also reported here are cold spots, strange lights in the sky, orbs in photographs, and shady apparitions that even appear in the middle of sunny days.
But there's one aspect of this case file that you just don't normally find in most haunting case files. Check this one out.
If you live near the Burying Point, take caution, as some of these ghosts have been known to make appearances in nearby homes.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you never buy a home next to a cemetery, right? Again, that's not common in the case files, even in graveyard case files, for the ghosts to visit the surrounding homes. Most of them, for whatever reason, seem to be locked into the area of the graveyards, at least generally speaking. What else do we have up on our list of the Massachusetts hauntings?
Highfield Hall. Highfield Hall in Falmouth was built as a summer retreat by the Beebe family in 1878, with siblings Pearson, Franklin, and Emily all residing there. It was one of the first major summer compounds on Cape Cod and stayed in the family until the final member, Franklin, passed in 1932, leaving no heirs behind. As history and local legend have it, Mary Louisa Beebe passed away from cancer at the age of 45 in the second-floor bedroom, and it's said her spirit may remain.
So I would be willing to bet that this one here is a caretaker-type ghost. We'll have to see what the hauntings actually entail here, but I would almost dare to guess that this would be a caretaker type, just, roaming and watching over the place, not really doing anything.
Many approaching the house have spotted her spectral form in that very same window, watching all who enter, and those brave enough to go explore the room immediately after usually report smelling the scent of old-timey perfume and hearing high-heeled footsteps pacing. Mary Louisa may not be alone, however, as many also report seeing the full-bodied apparition of a man out of the corner of their eye, usually just rounding corners or walking out of sight. From the description, this is suspected to be a young Franklin enjoying the home he loved so much in life.
Again, not any major paranormal activities, no cold spots, strangely enough, in this one, no orbs in this one, no moving furniture, or really not a lot of activity aside from just watching over and caretaking of a place.
Fort Warren.
And of course, we would expect a fort or a battlefield or something of that nature to most definitely be haunted, right?
Fort Warren on George's Island in Boston was constructed out of stone and granite from 1833 to 1861. It is located at the inlet of Boston Harbor and served as a military prison for Confederate soldiers and political prisoners, not being decommissioned until later in 1947. While Fort Warren may look like your standard old fort, it's surrounded by an astounding story and an unbelievable history.
Real quick here, I like this. Carol's Cookie said, "When I went to Salem, all the photos I took with my phone in the witch trials graveyard came out as if the photo lens had moisture trapped inside. All the pictures before and after were fine." That is the kind of spookiness I'm talking about. So there's another case file, a bonus case file for you folks from one of our very own Carol's Cookies. X-Gen, I see you over there in the Rip and Rabbit Hole chat. Good to see you, my friend.
In 1862, Melanie Lanier cut off all of her hair, dressed like a soldier, rode out to the fort, and squeezed into the prison block through a rifle hole, all to rescue her new husband, who had been taken prisoner. They then attempted to dig out of the prison, but were caught, and in the ensuing scuffle, Melanie's pistol was discharged, accidentally ending in her husband's demise.
So in a highly emotionally charged event happening to begin with, she accidentally shoots her husband. So we've got a lot of high energy, high emotion, and now high trauma. And we know that is always, unmistakably, always a recipe for a haunting.
She was captured and condemned to hang, but not before she requested dying in something other than men's clothing. The only thing the soldiers could find was an old black dress used in theatrics.
And now with this trauma on her soul that she's already done, they have basically killed her too. So once again, high trauma, high emotion, high chance of a haunting.
Shortly after her death, soldiers all around the fort began reporting seeing a woman in black, watching them from the shadows, and to this day she is said to remain. Many have reported seeing the woman in black wandering the halls, female whispers throughout the cell block, disembodied footsteps, and a feeling of being extremely unwelcome.
So once again, you have this high negative energy, this high motion, this high trauma that creates a spirit that some would call it playful. I would not. I would say it's probably more of a attempt to communicate, right? And when I say create a spirit, I mean create a situation of a haunting. As we're seeing, as we're breaking these haunting downs across these different states, there are different patterns that start to appear within these hauntings, from the cold spots and orbs to, that's one pattern, to the caretaker always watching over, being friendly and kind of watching over a place, to these not necessarily vengeful, these type, but these almost sound like a attempt to communicate with whoever may be there, and perhaps there is a vengeful, well, we know there is vengeful type. We've seen the poltergeist and night marchers of Hawaii, things like that. So just strange case files, and that's still not the strangest in Massachusetts.
Orleans Waterfront Inn and Restaurant. Orleans Waterfront Inn and Restaurant in Orleans was built by Aaron Snow in 1875. It was later renovated and reopened in 1997. It's built quite a reputation among paranormal researchers throughout the years, and deservedly so. As local legend has it, this old building is haunted by no less than 3 different apparitions.
And this is when sorting those patterns out get tricky, is when you have the multitude of ghosts or haunting situations in one building.
The first is that of Hannah, a prostitute from the 1920s who was murdered in front of the inn while it was still a brothel. She is often seen standing around the same place in garb from the era.
And once again, high trauma, but this one's a little different, right? Not really doing anything aside from just appearing, just being seen, not messing with anything, not making sounds, cold spots, voices, noises, anything. Just standing there and being seen, almost like an impression. Like a sticker on reality that fades in and out, right?
The second is that of Paul, a dishwasher at the inn in the 1970s who hung himself in the basement. He has been known to appear there often to any who have to venture downstairs, a melancholy look on his face, and on several occasions has sent unsuspecting staff and guests running in terror after appearing hanging from the very same place he died.
And once again, aside from just the scariness of seeing it, it's still nothing more than like a sticker on reality. It doesn't do anything, it just appears there visually, right?
The third apparition is that of Fred, a bartender from the 1950s who died in the cupola, also by way of hanging. Many have heard his familiar voice shout names and call orders from the other side.
Now, this one is a little more like case files that we're used to around this show, right? You have the disembodied voice, the almost an interaction with this side of reality, opposed to the other two just apparating and being seen. Right?
Also reported here are locked doors opening without explanation, candles lighting on their own, footsteps, strange sounds, muffled screams, and shadowy apparitions. When she's feeling especially frisky, Hannah has also been known to appear in various places around the premises, dancing completely naked.
Now, that's a little more than a sticker, and you know, I brought up probably a month or two ago, maybe even longer, that you don't normally see ghosts that are naked, that don't have clothing on, right? Most of them are wearing whatever clothing they were known to wear or last wearing in life, which I've always found a strange incident with as far as that goes. But just the same, you don't normally hear about a naked ghost. And here you go, ladies and gentlemen, the naked ghost in Massachusetts.
The Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast Museum. The Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast Museum in Fall River played home to Andrew Borden, his wife Abby, and daughters Emma and Lizzie between the years of 1874 and 1892.
Now, I just gotta know, ladies and gentlemen, knowing who Lizzie Borden is, right? I'm sure most all of us listening to this show have at least heard the story of Lizzie Borden. Knowing what happened in this home, would you rent this home? I mean, just as a regular Joe, would you rent the Lizzie Borden house? Go ahead, put a 1 if you would willingly, happily, without question, rent the Lizzie Borden house. Bed and breakfast is what it is, so you can actually rent a room there. Put a 2 in the chat room if you would say that's a little bit beyond something you'd be willing to adventure into, and put a 3 in the chat room if you're not quite sure. You're curious but not quite sure if you would or not.
On August 4th of 1892, Abby was killed while cleaning the guest room by a single axe blow to the face and 19 more to the back of the head. When Andrew came home, Lizzie told him Abby had gone to help a sick friend. Andrew took a nap, and while sleeping, he was struck 11 times through his head and upper body. Lizzie was tried and acquitted for the murders, but remains the prime suspect. In 1996, this blood-soaked abode was turned into a bed and breakfast, and not long after, guests and staff began reporting some pretty spooky happenings.
Again, you've got high family emotion and high trauma with what is clearly an incredibly brutal attack. So it is like without question that this place would be haunted. But to what degree is it haunted?
Including disembodied footsteps, voices, and cries of pain.
And we were talking about haunting patterns earlier. This is all audible, right? Disembodied voices, sounds, noises. This is all an audible haunting.
Authorities have even been called on several occasions in response to the brutal sounds of metal hacking at meat, coupled with screams so loud and real that all present believe there is an actual murder taking place.
So almost like the stone tape theory, we have this replay over and over and over. Again, so far it's just audible that we've heard about, but you've got this replay happening over and over in time.
Andrew and Abby's ghosts are almost commonly seen here as well, going about their daily routines, seemingly enjoying the life that was taken from them. All attempts to communicate with them have been met in failure, and they seem utterly unaware of the living.
What I do find strange is they seem to be going about daily routine, right? Not just replaying the most traumatic event over and over, but carrying on with normal life as if the living weren't occurring, as if we had two layers of reality laid on top of each other.
Also reported here are cold spots on hot nights, shadowy figures on the walls, lights turning on and off by themselves, and the feeling of cold fingers that have been known to gently touch visitors on exposed skin.
I don't know about you guys, but that is the point where I draw the line. Noises, visuals, that's one thing, but to be touched by a spirit, to literally feel fingers on your skin, that's a little bit far for me. But let's see how far it is for you guys, whether you would rent a place like this or not. Would you rent a room at this bed and breakfast? Absolutely yes. 1, 2, no, not so much. 3, not entirely sure. Let's see what you guys said over here in the chat rooms. Once again, we have a pretty mixed bag of opinions here. Raider Champion with a 1.4 this time instead of the 1.2. Definitely would take his chances staying and renting a room at the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast. However, Sandy B, 2, no way, not happening, ain't gonna do it. Terry Taggart, 2.3 and 3/4. So definitely not in a possible I don't know there. National Memorial Gardens, good to see you, Nathan. Shout out to the UK from here in America. National Memorial Gardens with the 2. Absolutely would not be renting a room at the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast. JoJo's with the 1 said she would rent herself a room without question over the DarkWolf's Den Show. Oh, Earl Taylor over in the Rippin' Rabbit Hole says 2. Absolutely also would not be renting a room. Mandani Mall with the 2 over in the DarkWolf's Den Show said, I don't think so. My Life 2. How's no, says My Life. Michael Fontaine completely confused, not sure if he would or not with the question mark. Not even throwing a number out there. He don't even know if he would considering the idea. Hell yeah, that's right, Bubby. Dead GPK with an astonished 3. I don't know either way, so he would at least consider it. Alva Yoder with the 2. Absolutely not. And personally, I think I'm a 3 on this one. Like, I would have been a 1. Absolutely would have been a 1. But when it comes to the ghost reaching out and physically touching me, you know what? I'm not so sure I would be as willing to jump on this particular case as I would any other. But speaking of any other, does the state of Massachusetts have enough crazy cryptids and strange ghost stories to be a state of mystery above any other? Or are we once again barking up the wrong tree? In the end, ladies and gentlemen, all you can do is look at the evidence, apply a little common sense, and you be the judge. We got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show for Wednesday, November the 10th, 2021. So whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, the den may be closing, but don't you worry, the weekend fun has only just begun. That's right. We will be back tomorrow, Thursday, November the 11th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, 11/11, by the way, my favorite day of the year, at least one of them. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we will be covering the Bill of Rights. Do you know your rights? A lot of people don't know what rights we have as an American, and it's been a long time since we've looked over the Bill of Rights. And I think it is a little bit overdue, especially in this day and age. And we'll be covering all that tomorrow, Thursday, November the 11th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, on the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show. Freedom Flame Series Special Editions, of course. And then on Friday, November the 12th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, our buddy AJ the Rippin' Rabbit comes back with an all-new episode of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. On Friday, he will be talking about transparency. It is extremely important that our representatives and officials are transparent in what they do. Otherwise, there's corruption that can sneak in quite quickly. And transparency is an incredibly important topic for this day and age, and a topic that AJ will be covering on Friday, November the 12th, 2021. Once again, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. All shows here on the network start at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then on Saturday, November the 13th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, AJ comes back for another episode of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show as he discusses perseverance. We must persevere always through and continue to work and strive towards our goals. And the harder that we get resistance, the more we must persevere. And he'll be talking about all that and more on Saturday, November the 13th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then on Sunday, November the 14th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, AJ comes back to round the weekend out right with yet another incredibly important topic, preserving history. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, our history is under fire, as there are some that would have our history destroyed and rewritten their way, and we cannot allow these things to happen, for if we do not know our history, we are bound to repeat it. And AJ will be discussing all that and more on Sunday, November the 14th, 2021, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, and that'll round the weekend out right here on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. Speaking of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole, make sure you hop on over to the rippinrabbithole.com. That is RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. Over there you're going to find a plethora of fun, that's right, and informative topics at the same time. What you're first going to do is sign up for your 100% free VIP pass. That will get you access to all of the features of the site. Once you've signed up for that, you will also be receiving an email every Wednesday with the DarkWolf's Den shows and Rippin' Rabbit Holes that we will be discussing all weekend long. And then once you get into the site, there's things like the Down the Rabbit Hole section. That is our exclusive social media section over there. You can go down the rabbit hole to our wall and drop all kinds of important information without it being censored like those other guys, if you know what I mean. Also, while you're on the rippinrabbithole.com, make sure you hit the Listen Live button and drop down to the On Demand section. That is all of our previous broadcasts. So you can go back as far as you want, as long as we've been doing shows, and check all the different topics that we've covered. There has been a large variety over the couple years that we've been doing this now. So if there's a particular topic that you would like to listen to, make sure you go to the On Demand. Also, on our front page, of course, the most important, the home page, there's always breaking news and up-to-date information. Right now, it looks like an ancient hangover cure was found by archaeologists. Make sure you go read that story, especially if you like to drink. Maybe the ancients knew something that we do not to this day, right? Also, as you scroll down through, you can find previous articles that we've shared on the rippinrabbithole.com, as well as a large variety of recipes that are posted every day. If you're looking for something different for dinner or a treat or many other variety of recipes, definitely scroll down and check those out. And Just check out all the amazing features, the groups section. There's so much to do on the rippandrabbithole.com and so little time to do it. So make sure you hop on over and get your adventure started, ladies and gentlemen. With that said, my name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you've been listening to the DarkWolf's Den Radio Show, exclusively on Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. On behalf of AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, Walt House, everyone involved in Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, our amazing mod team on YouTube, and everybody that has helped us out along the way, as well as Tom Bayless and Red Shit Studios for this amazing music. On behalf of all these folks, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. And remember, until next time, stay awake, but dare to dream. That's right. Good night, everybody. Oh yeah, by the way, let's go Brandon, FJB.
Some things are better left unknown, and I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever.
3. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. FJB. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. FJB. It's right there. FJB. Let's go, Brandon. FJB. You want to do it with me, son? Let's go, Brandon. FJB. Let's go, Brandon. FJB, that's right. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. That's right, Bubby. That is right. Say, let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB. Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
3 great letters of the alphabet, right, Bubby? Uh-huh. Let's go, Brandon. Say, let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. FJB.
I like the FJB better.
You do? Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
That's right, Bubby. Going into Veterans Day tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a wonderful Veterans Day. Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
3 amazing letters. Isn't that right? Just 3 letters of the alphabet, right? Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
FJB.
Papa, look.
Uh-huh. Say, let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
FJB. Let's go, Brandon. That's right. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. I think I've created a monster, ladies and gentlemen, but I love it. Got to teach them right from a young age. One last time. Let's go, Brandon.
FJB.
That's right, Bubby. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of my amazing grandson, everybody that has helped us with this radio show along the way, and I thank you all for being here, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all these folks.
FJB.
Like my grandson says, FJB. Let's go, Brandon. Good night, everybody.